Hello, all. I was recently asked if I could travel back in time to any year, what year would I go to? And without hesitation, I said 1974. Why 1974, you may ask? Why not, say, 1977 when Star Wars first came out, or 1978 when I first became aware of punk rock and the Sex Pistols? Those years were important, but they weren't as important to me personally as 1974, and I'll tell you why for those interested. 1974 was my first year of high school. Um, I went to a regional high school. We didn't have our own in our little town of Haworth, New Jersey. We had to go to a regional high school, which was actually in the next town over, Demarest, and it also encompassed another town, Closter, which you may have heard of because there was a battle there, the Battle of Closter Dock during the Revolutionary War, where Washington's troops actually forced back the British. Um, so that's an important battle. But I digress. Those three towns went to this school, Northern Valley Regional High School in Demarest, and that's where I went. I didn't know what to expect from high school. But I quickly found out, and this is something it's not really a complaint, it's just something that happened. We were not really prepared properly in grammar school for what we would be required to do in high school. We were not taught how to write final exams. We're not taught how to give oral presentations. We were not taught how to write an essay. These are all things that we had to learn in high school. And we mostly learned them out of the kindness of the heart of one of our teachers who wasn't really supposed to take time out from her curriculum to teach us these things, but she did. And I think got in a little bit of trouble with the school board for doing it. But uh, again, I didn't know what to expect from high school. I really didn't. I knew it was going to be different. I knew that we were going to have different challenges and that I was going to have to start thinking about, what I wanted to do as quote unquote a career and what about my future and what about what college I wanted to go to, if I wanted to go to college, or if maybe I wanted to go to trade school instead. Those kinds of life decisions that hadn't really been part of my experience of grammar school. Grammar school, we just went to school and did the work, and we didn't really think about, what was going to happen next. So I was somewhat ill prepared, and I didn't know what to expect. I thought, what if there are tough guys here? What if I'm not able to cope with this, the level of the classes? But that was all nonsense. I did perfectly fine. I was not a straight A student, but I was an A and B student. There were only a few classes I didn't really do well. One of them was gym, because I've never been a very physical guy, and I had a lot of trouble, doing some of the things they wanted us to do, particularly the athletics, the acrobatic kind of stuff, climbing ropes and doing the parallel bars and all that. I was not good at those things. I didn't really do particularly well. But good at archery, good at running, good at some of the things they wanted us to do in gym class, good at basketball. So it wasn't all bad. Um, but the first class I had, other than, I think gym was actually the first class I had, physical education. And then I think I had French. And then I had English. I should explain, there was a different schedule. In grade school, we basically went to school, all day, and we had different classes set into different periods. Um, that wasn't the way the high school was rated. They had something called the modular schedule, where you didn't have the same classes every day, and you didn't actually have to. Some days ended early. You had three different types of class. There were large group, medium group, and small group classes. And some days you had two or three large group classes. Some days you had a medium and a large. Some days you had a medium, a couple of smalls. There were study periods as well, study halls they called them. And then some days you actually got out early. But so you didn't, not every day went from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Some days you got out at like 1:30 or even noon, I think, on a couple of days. I wasn't used to that. That was not something that we had done in grammar school. So that was different. And then, the classes were smaller. Some of them were quote unquote modular classrooms, which were these little trailers basically that they put together, and they were for the small group class. And then there was the auditorium for the large group, and there were regular size classes for the medium groups in the main building. There were a number of outbuildings also. Fairly large campus, and as I said, it encompassed 3 different schools. I got to meet people from the different towns I hadn't met before, because I mostly knew just kids from Haworth. But I get to meet some kids from Gloucester and kids from Demarest, some of whom became my good friends. And that was good. I liked that. And then I saw her, and I spell her in all capital letters. I went to my first English class, and my teacher was, quite frankly, the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my entire life, or ever, I think, will see. And also the nicest, sweetest, most wonderful person. She is my muse, she is my mentor. And in some ways, and I'll say this, it's bold for me to say it, but it's true, the only woman I ever really loved, all the way down to the core of my being. And that was my high school English teacher, Leslie Rona Major. Stunning, absolutely stunning woman. And I was like instantly smitten with her. I hung on her every word. I followed her around, like a smitten little puppy for quite a while. And I did very well in her class. I paid attention. Like I said, she taught us how to write an essay, how to do the opening paragraph, the 3 supporting paragraphs, the final paragraph, how to do a bibliography, how to do how to cite properly, and how to use Strunk and White, which is an essential tool for any elements of style. It's an essential tool for any writer of any kind, and how to give oral arguments as well. And that was, very helpful in future years, particularly in college. And really gave a very terrific class. Unfortunately for me, I had planned to take her creative writing class the next year, and I was looking forward to it. She transferred to the sister school of our school, which was up in Old Tappan, which is north of where we were. That school was a much larger campus, encompassed 7 towns. And that was not in her control. She was transferred because that's where they wanted her. So I didn't really get to see her very much after that. But that's one of the reasons. Again, other reasons, there was some great music. There were King Crimson's Red came out, Diamond Dogs by David Bowie. Lots of other, Kiss's first album, Queen's second album. Good, really great music. Rather good metal came out. I think Black Sabbath Sabotage was 75, but again, they had some stuff out that year too. Blue Oyster Cult Secret Treaties, which is one of my favorites of theirs. Like the song ME262. And great movies, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. Phantom of the Paradise, one of my absolute favorites, came out in that year. Godfather Part 2, and a couple of good science fiction movies. Phase 4 was a really cool movie about ants becoming intelligent and changing the environment so that we can't live here anymore. It's kind of interesting. And a lot of good TV shows. Columbo, Wonder Woman, Charlie's Angels were all on at that time. And some of the soaps, which I never cared for, the Falcon Crest and Dynasty and stuff, started then too. The Love Boat, I couldn't stand that show. I never watched it, but that came out then. So 74 was an important and influential year. It taught me how to write, like I said, Leslie taught me how to write a paper and how to structure my thoughts, which helped in other classes too, not just in English. It set me on the path to, where I was going in the future, both, in going to college and in what I chose to do with my quote-unquote career, though in truth I never really had a focused career, but, I wanted to become a writer and became a writer because of what those courses and those people, taught me. Not only Leslie, but also Bob DeLucia, who was our humanities teacher, was really good. Rex Miller was a theater teacher, was really good. Rod Sharatsky was my journalism teacher, who had also taught my brother Stephen, and was very fond of him. And lots of other really great teachers. My French teacher, Mrs. Teresiano, who kissed me on the lips at graduation. And all I'll say about that is I still remember that kiss, and that's 50 years ago. That's all you really need to know about that. Again, very, very beautiful woman. Still is. I've seen a picture of her. Aged very well. And it just felt like that year was a year that I changed. The year that I really kind of grew up. I was still going to summer camp, but I started to feel that it was a little bit past my time. And again, I would only go for one more year as a CIT, a counselor in training. And then I just decided, that's enough. I don't want to do this anymore. And so I started to grow up, in that year, and that really, formulated who I became. So that's why, if I were given the choice, if time travel was real, which, as far as I know, it's not, then I would go back to 1974 because I really enjoyed that year.